Good morning everybody, it's Friday the 24th of July. That date of course means that face masks, face coverings are now mandatory right across England. Obviously Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales have got their own set of regulations, but they're not a million miles away from the government's regulation for England. In fact, actually Scotland have had face wearings as a mandatory regulation since the 10th of July, but never mind. So in shops, supermarkets, put your masks on, any public spaces, except a few exceptions. Theatre is, strangely enough, not mandatory for face coverings. The official reason is because they've got their own set of regulations already in theatres. I guess the reality is probably that you can't have people on the stage and the crew having to wear face masks. It would defeat the dramatic effect, wouldn't it, of what's going on stage. Anyway, don't forget your face masks. That's the situation for today. There are a lot of grey areas. It's going to create a complete minefield with enforcing it, but let's see what happens over the next few days. As Sardines, we've really been missing our bi-monthly magazine to the stage when we are going to produce an online only it's going to be a bit of a lockdown special next month. It's going to be digital only, online only, which means you do need to be a subscriber or have a digital subscription to be able to see it and read it. However, don't despair, because we've just introduced a very, very reasonable set of digital only rates. So for 6 months you get 3 issues worth, 6 months worth of digital access to the website. That means you can access it, because this is going to coincide with the launch of our new website as well, which means all the articles in the new issue will be available to read nicely, beautifully formatted on PCs, any mobile tablets, mobile phones. You'll be able to read it on all these devices really easily. You'll be able to navigate through it really nicely. But not only that, because you have a digital subscription, you'll have access to every single past issue of Sardines for your subscription period as well, which means if you want to, you can download or just open up all the PDFs from every single past issue. And we're now, this one in August is going to be number 49, so that's quite a lot of issues to read articles and interviews from in the past. There will be lots of new stuff going on in the new issue, so please do subscribe. The link is right below this video here. Click on it, subscribe if you can, and hopefully we'll see you next month because of that. One feature in the new issue which you really will not want to miss is our Panto in Ruins. This week we've spoken to a couple of major, and believe me when I say major, I mean major pantomime producers. And while they haven't been able to put anything on the record yet officially, because everyone's waiting until a very early date in August, I think it's something like the 5th of August, when it's going to be decided officially what to do with this year's Panto season. While that is still the case at the moment, reading between the lines, it's going to be a miracle if any pantomime goes on throughout December. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen, believe me. Productions all over the country are writing off their 2020 dates in favour of rescheduling everything to 2021, and pantomime, we think, is going to be no different to this. And that, mark my words, that is bad news, not only for the professional sector, also for the amateur theatre sector. Because whether you're professional or an amateur, pantomime produces, hands down, the biggest box office take of the whole year. And let's not also forget, it acts as a bit of a financial crutch for some of the lesser known titles that you're going to be producing in the following year to prop up those box office figures. If you've got a nice healthy pantomime take at the beginning of the year, you're going to need that financial cushion, aren't you? And that's the case with pantomime all over the country. Remember our surveys that we recently asked of you? The first question was, with this year's professional pantomime season hanging in the balance, do you predict amateur stroke non-professional pantomimes will still go ahead? Over 80% of you said no, amateur pantomimes, non-professional pantomimes will not go ahead. And the other question related, a little bit related, that we asked is a second wave of coronavirus, COVID-19, on the way? And if so, will theatres be adversely affected again? To this question, almost 90% responded with yes or very, very likely. Wow. This week, we've asked you just one single question. It's all anonymous, you don't have to leave any details, no names, no contact details. You just have to press the button, flick through to the survey, answer one question and leave it. It'll take you seconds. The question is, do you believe a COVID-19 vaccine is on the way, and will it turn things around? That's it. That's all you have to answer. I think there's something like 7 different versions of an answer that you can just quickly read through and select one and then leave. That's all you need to do. Despite all of the government's efforts to try and kickstart the arts industry, theatre industry, even though none of them appear to go to the theatre and understand how theatre works, that's another point. What I can tell you is that despite all the recent government activity and pushing to try and get theatre reopened, kick-started, etc, etc, according to our 2 Panto producers this week that we spoke to, it's not going to make the slightest bit of difference. If social distancing is in place, a pantomime has to sell tickets throughout the whole year without a glitch, and if there's one little glitch, then it presents a bit of a problem come December. We've had half the year almost cancelled, so it's a bit crazy, isn't it? Panto is not going to happen this year, and we believe that anyone that tells you otherwise is sorely mistaken. Also, do you really think that any Panto producer is going to take the risk and invest in putting on a whole season for a member of the cast and crew to then fall foul of this infection, causing the whole production to then be shut down? The whole venue, the whole run would have to be closed while the cast and crew go into self-isolation and quarantine themselves. No Panto producer is going to do that. They know that. I think at the back of our minds we know that, and it's not going to happen. So it's our belief that any producers that at the moment are publicising the fact that they are willing to open are just preparing themselves. Either they're preparing to take a big financial hit, or they're part of a government pilot scheme and they're being propped up financially to put their production on, or they've produced such a long-running show that by now they've recouped all of their initial investment and it takes less investment week by week, performance by performance, to put on the show and to take your money back. But despite that, let's not forget that Cameron Mackintosh, who is producer of 2 of the longest running shows in the world, Les Mis and Phantom, has totally withdrawn them from the whole of 2020 until sometime around the springtime next year, when they're going to reopen, but we still don't have a positive date on when that will be. So at the moment we're getting emails about theatre bursting back into life and this will be open, that will be open soon. In reality, we really believe the sensible money will be following the myriad of productions that have written off 2020 dates and have rescheduled already to 2021. These are shows such as the entire Chichester Festival programme. The entire programme. And these are the big money productions. These are the big producers that have just not taken any chances. Andrew Lloyd Webber's new musical Cinderella. Hairspray at the London Coliseum with Michael Ball. Most of these have rescheduled to the autumn, and then they've written off those dates and they've rescheduled again for a second time to 2021. Joseph at the Palladium next year. The new Moulin Rouge production in the West End, My Best Friend's Wedding. Sister Act, Strictly Ballroom, it goes on and on. Celador's entire season of touring productions have been cancelled for 2020 to put into 2021. So yes, it's fantastic that we're hearing that we're going to burst back into life. We're going to open next week, next month, with socially distanced outdoor productions, whatever it might be. But in reality, we're not so sure that it's going to be possible. Now, this is really important. People are asking us, why do you keep banging on about the professional industry all the time when Sardines is supposed to be a magazine produced for the amateur, non-professional sector? You're absolutely right, of course it is. Why do we talk about the professionals so much? I'll tell you why. That's the level we aspire to. That's where we want to be compared to the professional industry. Don't we like nothing better than to come off stage when the curtain goes down, get changed, go into the bar for a drink, people come up to us and say, oh my goodness, that was so good, it could have been on the West End, it was the most professional thing I've ever seen here. Fantastic. We want to be compared to professionals, so we can't have it both ways. You know, if you want to be compared to professionals, we should try and emulate that standard. And that's why we're talking about the professional industry quite a bit. Why we interview professionals. That's the level we want to be compared with. And that's why we're talking about productions that are closing, that are opening. I mean, hopefully, we're all theatre lovers, and we're all going to see as much professional theatre as possible. That's one of the other things we bang on about. We want to be compared to professionals, so you should go and see as much professional theatre as possible. Be inspired by it. But that's why we talk about productions or genres in the professional industry that aren't happening at the moment, that are being rescheduled to next year, because you can bet your bottom dollar amateur theatre will follow it. Professionals are relying on the industry to pay their mortgage, to pay their rent. Their very careers and their income is dependent on it. Aren't we lucky to just be lovers of? We are amateurs, we are lovers of what we do, the art that we take part in. That's why we take part in it. Aren't we lucky to do what we do just because we love it? But at the same time as doing that, we have a second income string that pays the mortgage, or most of us do. Aren't we lucky to be most of us? To pay our rent, to pay our mortgage, and not be affected by it so much. I know that a lot of societies run their own buildings, and those are locked down at the moment. Those are closed and haven't been producing for 4 or 5 months. And that is tragic. Of course it's tragic. Of course it is. But they will only reopen after the professional industry takes the lead. The circumstances regarding something like outdoor productions are much more stringent for amateurs than they are for the professional industry, because the government has to look after the professional industry first. Amateurs will always come second. If we do it because it's a hobby or because we love it, we will come second. That's why we have a set of regulations that are much stricter. If you want to be an amateur and follow your hobby and do this thing, you can do it, but you have to adhere to this, this and this instead of this and this, because we want the profession to turn over the money, to be kick-started, to get going again. That's where the government are concentrating their efforts on kick-starting, reopening theatre. Amateur theatre will follow that inevitably. Don't worry about it. We will follow it. We will get going again. But we just wanted to clear that up, okay? And we hope you understand where we're coming from in our heads, okay? And why isn't it going to be possible? Simple. Public confidence. Public confidence is going to get this thing back on track. It's going to make or break it. And because at the end of the day, the public are the ones who buy the tickets at the box office. The public are the ones that become our members. Amateur societies' membership is made up of members of the public. It's going to take public confidence for everything to tick back and work. The only thing that's going to turn this around and get public confidence ticking over again is the introduction of a vaccine. At present, we're crossing all of our fingers for a return to our print publications for the December 20 to January 21 period of time. We're bi-monthly, so December, January will hopefully be our next issue, but that all depends on public confidence being brought back. If there's not enough theatre, if there's few scratchings on the ground, if there's not enough theatre to come back to, we're going to have to stay online. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. If you did like this, please click the subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave any comments you've got below this video or on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Please, 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 if you can, subscribe to our August lockdown special magazine that's going to be online only. Also, click on the link below this video that goes straight through to our one single survey question this week. One question. It's going to take you seconds. So click on that now and then come back and click on the subscribe to Sardines Magazine next month button. So there we go. Thank you very much, and we'll speak to you all next week. Bye for now.